to keep operating under that philosophy is really be like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and really expecting a different result.
All right, guys, I'm going to do something a little different here today, something I haven't really done in a while. Some of you may remember I did a thing called Suit Hustle in 2021, and I'm going to do something sort of similar here today. I don't usually write a script. I don't usually do lots of edits. I try to put stuff in my brain and pour my heart out on the camera. And there's times when I make mistakes, guys' names wrong and things like that. But I want to be as spot on as I can. I'm going to cover the new Suit Hustle that I believe is coming. And I'm doing this for a few reasons. I've been doing this since 2021. I love this team. I love the game of football. I'm an old school guy, and people and honor and codes mean everything to me. I was terrified to do this job. My wife talked me into it, but I learned to love it. And a lot of that was because I got to meet some great people, have connections. And for me, doing this gig, it's about people. You got to understand that. And study the game of football for a living. I want to outline some of the past things I've said to show that past is prologue. And also, not to boast, because I wasn't always accurate, but to show you how this past is prologue, what I've said, and how I've stood kind of in the gap to kind of take takes when they weren't conducive to clicks and subs and stuff, because that was my belief. And a good deal of them turned out to be accurate. And I want you to not take what I'm saying as gospel, but consider it because of my past takes.
This is not about football. This is not about winning. This is about something else. And they're going to snow job you and sell you. And they think Fin fans are stupid. They'll just do some big flashy thing. And you're going to go nowhere. This team's not going to go anywhere. You can't go someplace in football without character.
And also, if you watch some of those videos, you'll see me in 21 to now, and I am withered. And there's a lot of me that even if after the season, my sponsors decide to bring me back again for another season, I don't know if I'm going to do it. If this hustle is coming again. So this could be, in a lot of ways, my epitaph for being a content provider. And I know there's some fans out there who will be cheering and some content providers that will be cheering. And everybody's got a right to their thoughts. But
brothers, what we doing live echoes in eternity.
So I'm going to provide a lot of clips. I'm going to cover a lot of stuff that I've said in the past, flesh it out a little bit, and tell you what I think this new hustle is. And if it's going the way I think, as the last series of predictions I've made, starting with Suit Hustle.
Media hustle, Suit Hustle. Fin fans, aren't you tired of getting hustled? There will not be a winning here with Chris Grier and the way Stephen Ross is handling it. If you put up with this, you're going to get what you deserve. If you want people that are liars, cheaters, dishonest, and no loyalty, then that's what you're going to have. And that's not going to win in a Warriors sport.
Kind of going over McDaniel, Tua, the value of the run game, Grier. And then as I grew doing this channel, answering your guys' comments and studying, the target seemed to face on Ross. So that's what I'm going to do here, guys.
But I want to lay something out here. It's not because Ross is a bad guy. This is how businesses run with committees, and we find out, and glass, you separate power, and people are trying to. This is how businesses run. But that's not how football's run. At least not really in the first and second stage. In the last stage, it's cutthroat. Everybody's trying to find their way off the ship so they don't have a bad name and can't get a gig. But in phase one, the installation, and phase two, in the building and the trying to make it, it's the warrior's way, and there has to be honor. There has to be leadership. There has to be a hierarchy of authority. You cannot run it like a business in phase one and phase two. Phase three, man, everybody's like trying to do their thing, make themselves look as if, but everybody knows that. Sinking ship, everybody's getting off. But phase one and phase two, loyalty is key.
So, how is this once great franchise fallen into the pit? Every team in the league has won a playoff game but us over a period of time, 2003 or 4, whatever it is. How has that happened? Well, it's not just one thing. With Huizinga, it was incompetence, bad choices. Things just didn't work out. Missing on Breeze over Culpepper. Parcells going for long and long, getting a crazy injury. What a great player he could have been instead of Ryan. But when Stephen Ross took over, it was the incompetence and then the way he does business. And my hustle take from 21, it was very close. It circled the toilet rim. The one part where I was wrong, and I had mentioned it, was the right target. And what I'm going to do here is not to create excuses for people, but to focus on the way Ross does business. And there is a corporate environment. In corporate environments, there's separations of power, and there is hustles. It's a backstabbing way of doing business. And football has that in it, the players and the coaches, but not to this degree. And so what I want to talk about here is the hustle that we keep seeing over and over again is the vilification of an individual to avoid something else. They call it a smear wrap-up. I've talked about that. And so I'm not a Grier fan, and I haven't been for a while. And so the old hustle is the same as the new hustle. The new hustle will be to get a sacrifice so something can continue. And so you vilify something, put it up as the primary reason, when really the underlining reasons are not being focused on. We saw that with Philbin. We saw that with Gase and Tannenbaum. Then it became we didn't do things the right way with free agency. We're going to go through the draft. And then it was Flores. And then it kind of became Tua. Then it kind of became Tua and McDaniel. And finally, we're putting the aiming point on Grier. And if you've listened to me for a while, it's a clear, big factor, but it is not the factor. So Grier, as I've said this in the past many, many times in different slices.
Omar Kelly calls, he's a survivor, which means he will do anything, bury anybody to remain where he is. Remember, he built everything. He's been here since 2016 and had major influence before that. He was the head of college scouting.
Let's remember, we're killing Grier now, and we should, but the money man said you can't spend. So what's going on? Who's in charge? And the truth is, we probably won't, and I hope I'm wrong, get a GM outside the building who's a quality GM who will come in and say, look, we've got to change everything. We have to really change fundamental things. Mr. Ross and your guys, I'm in charge. I make the football decisions. I'll listen to you and all that, but ultimately it's on me. But Ross and his power structure, they want power. They want the corporate structure. And so you most likely won't get a new GM, a good GM, a GM who will have the power, and you'll get champ promoted within who's kind of been groomed in the way things are going, or Marvin Allen, and maybe they draft better. But ultimately, you're not going to get a systemic gutting and overhaul, and you're still going to have that outside influence. And so while Grier is a major problem, he was raised up in this corporate environment. He was brought in with Tannenbaum and Gase and this divisions of power after Ireland and Ponte and Philbin had divisions of power and they were arguing. It was the same. And so if this hustle is right, Grier will get removed. Everyone will sing hallelujah, definitely me. But the problem will be the core issue of someone who is all about football coming in and making the total decisions and not being overly influenced by Ross and his buddies.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crush.
I don't look like a guy who likes the color purple, but I love that movie because it's about someone being crushed down and finally finding victory. But the curse was, until you do right by me, us fans, by the game of football and the right structure to win, nothing you do will turn out right. So McDaniel for a while was a hot seat guy and Tua. But I've said this about McDaniel in 22, and it was so clear. Going from that calm, climate control booth to the field is going to be totally different in many, many ways. There's going to be so much more stuff that needs to be handled at a very high pace. There's going to be a lot more stimuli coming in to distract, confuse, to make the job more difficult. Listen to what Gailey says about going from the booth to the field.
I'm going to ask you about your plans for Sunday. Are you going to be on the field or upstairs? And what do you see as the benefits to either one?
I've always, when I haven't been a head coach, when I was a coordinator, I've always been upstairs. The calmness of being able to think through the next series, of being able to look at the pictures and think about things without somebody coming up to you and telling you they were open on the last play. Why don't you give me the ball? You know, all that stuff. It's great to just sit there and think about how you need to go about beating the defense the next time out. And you can spread out and just have some calmness is what I like.
But ask yourself, whether it's Grier and the interference or whatever's going on at the top, whether it's McDaniel or Tua being interfered or not being set up right, it is a repetition of the past. And it's poor framework. Everything we touch goes to hell. Why?
But McDaniel, I thought, did a decent job. I don't know if he's the guy. There's holes in his game. But he was a run coordinator who sat in the booth. They brought him down year one. And they said, you have to win. And while you have to win now and win big, be the head coach and OC, and we're not giving you an O-line.
So McDaniel was probably like our fourth choice. No one wanted to work with us. No one of any gravitas and salt. And you could say it was because of Grier and because Boyer was forced on him. Maybe, but I've talked about the coaching is a fraternity. And all these guys, whether it's trying to hire Harbaugh behind Sparano's back, the mixing of powers with Ireland and Philbin and Tannenbaum and the assertion of Tua Flores.
You strike me with words hard as steel.
You betrayed the Duke. You stole his wife. You took his castle. Now no one trusts you.
And, people will say, Flores is a bad guy, and it's not to say he's not, but Van Noy was cut to spite him. And when it finally came out 2 years later, after years of hearing that Flores had dead bodies in the basement and Grier was just an angel, we found out Van Noy said I was cut in a war between the GM and the coach. And that didn't even get any traction. Whether Flores deserved it or not, that's not how you do it. And the rest of the fraternity knows the modus operandi, the mode of operation here. And any real coach, Caldwell, didn't even want to have a sniff here. Whether he was the right guy or not, we will have to go fish. And maybe they're thinking McDaniel and Weaver is the best they're going to be able to get. So they've got to create this obfuscation, vilify Grier, get everybody cheering, and then they'll bring in their guys that's already going to follow the process, and maybe we'll get a good pick, and then we'll get the quarterback. But it won't change until Ross changes what he does.
He is right now the quarterback and will be dependent upon the new head coach.
So he tells you, oh yeah, Tua's our guy. We find a coach, it's up to him. But he already had Brady and he was working on Peyton. He lied to us. And if he's going to lie to us, then he's not our friend. He doesn't have our best interest. And clearly what you're seeing now, either he's incapable of making the right decision or he knows his hands are tied because he's a pariah. But within an hour, it came out, his little statement. Grier and co. are coming back with the full confidence of one awesome guy, Stephen Ross. And this is just not acceptable. This is pathetic.
Grier is no good. I've had a fight to Grier's cooking, and he's not that bad of a GM. But now we're seeing the media start to move off Tua a little bit, move off McDaniel a little bit.
You're going to get, it was before, it was Flores was destroying Tua. He's an evil guy with dead bodies. And then McDaniel's a genius. Tua's now found his way. He's got his swag. And now Tua's a loser. McDaniel's an idiot.
Now it's starting to dial in on Grier. And he is a primary problem. I don't think anybody has been, that I know of that's been on the anti-Grier train as long or as hard as I have. Maybe we get rid of Tua and McDaniel. I don't think you can get rid of Tua because of the money. They need a victim. So Grier will probably get fired. But by fired, it will be more than likely, as Al from 3 yards per carry, who's great, said this offseason, he'll get promoted. And when he gets promoted, he'll still be involved, but what will happen is we'll promote from within with Champ or Marvin Allen, maybe keep Tua, maybe keep McDaniel, but the core of what's wrong with us won't be fixed, and that is Ross and Garfunkel and the Money Man and whoever else is still going to interfere on the football level.
I could have just rode the gravy train all the way through. It was the greatest. We're going all the way. And he sucks, just like most of these other people. But I predicted all this stuff. I gave you evidence. I showed you things that nobody else is telling you about, and it ended up being right because I care. I love my Dolphins. I love my fellow fans. I love my viewers. And I'm not here to get clicks. I want the clicks, but I'm here to give the truth. And it was so tough this season because I had to go against everybody. And I figured when all played out, at least I could say, you know what, I was wrong, but great, we're doing well. And if it goes the way I said, at least I could say, you know what, I gave you guys good info. But I lost on both ends. I don't know.
And you're not going to find another coach to come here, especially if you don't like Tua. You don't want to be strapped with Tua. You don't want to be strapped with a GM that's going to be pushed around and controlled to some degree by Ross and his cronies.
Brian Flores tried to change the culture. It's hard to do it when the powers to be above you won't let the culture change because it's going to infringe on their little territory. Wait, I'm up here with the owner in the box, and he's trying to change things and make me do something else. Get his ass out of here and fire him. We'll bring in the next guy who's going to listen to me. And that's what it feels like down in Miami.
All right, so why am I getting this out? We got the Carolina game. It's a big game. You might say the season's over, we're done, and you're probably right. But it's a game. It's big. But I wanted to get this out now because if I'm right and this hustle is true, it's going to gain so much steam so quick that I won't have the strength or the voice to penetrate. So I wanted to get out now. I try to use logic here and reason. And you got to think logically. Ross likes power. He's been doing it the same way, corporate way, for a long time. He's got F1, plenty of money, doesn't need ticket sales, anything else. He likes to disseminate power to the people around him. And GMs, good GMs, don't want that. They want to be in control. Same thing with good head coaches. So what will Ross do? He's going to pass this off as a legacy to his daughter. He's got to keep the hopium rolling. Grier will be addition by subtraction when we get off him. And maybe two if you want, we get the top pick. And maybe McDaniel eventually if he doesn't pan out. But ultimately, as long as Ross is doing business the way he's done it, it's going to compromise us, and the dysfunction will prop up and the failure will prop up again. Because everything underneath has drafted the players we've drafted. It's not just Grier picking them. There's a lot of stuff here. And then there's Ross. Until that's fixed, nothing's going to change. So, look, I try to follow my heart and my logic. It's not always right. It's a little wild sometimes, but it's been pretty accurate, saying things ahead of schedule a lot. So I just want to give it to you because you're my viewers and you're my obligation, not my sponsors, not my clicks, and my nature is my obligation. So take it for what it is. I'm not saying it's gospel. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. I want to leave you with something I did in 2021, a little ditty of a song that really encapsulates the sorrow of people who love something so bad, but they can't get their hands on it. And we love this team. We want them to be successful. So I hope you enjoyed. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out.
There's a song, Bright Horses. And everyone is hidden and everyone is cruel. There's no shortage of tyrants and there's no shortage of fools. And the little white shape dancing at the end of the hall is just a wish that time can't dissolve at all. We want to see success. I think most of us, even more than success, want to have a franchise that's respectful, that has respect, that has character and class, because that's the only way to get the championship. There's people here from 66. There's people here from 5 years ago. They're tired of this. They're tired of the way this franchise is being run by the suits, by people who are incompetent. Ross is the last man with the hand on the lever to send this franchise to hell or to give it a chance. I hope he's the hero.
Whether Chan-Gailey quit or was forced out, you know, you can think whatever you want, but Chan-Gailey didn't feel like he was welcome back.
programmed to agree with what we see before our eyes. Only programmed to agree with what we see before our eyes. With what we see before our eyes.
Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.